Hi everyone, this is Ryan Crawford. Today I will be discussing the effectiveness of video modeling on travel training in adults with autism. Individuals with autism face a variety of challenges in their lives. These include social, sensory, communication, and safety. Safety being related to transportation. The ability to safely navigate one's surroundings can open up opportunities such as access to community settings and gainful employment, according to Meshling and O'Brien in 2010. As technology has advanced, it has played an increasingly more important role in instruction with individuals with autism. These supports can increase opportunities for employment and independent living. One of these best practice strategies is video modeling, which allows focus to be concentrated on the technology instead of outside prompts, thus increasing the student or participant independence in the activity. A literature review based on the social importance of transportation and safety in the community, as well as best practice autism strategies, has led me to the following research question. How does the use of simultaneous video modeling on an iPod impact independent travel training in young adults ages 18 to 22 with educational autism? In order to determine the effectiveness of this intervention, participants were chosen from a local special education transition program in Naperville, Illinois. The participants had to meet the following criteria. They had to be between ages 18 and 22, be diagnosed with educational autism, be enrolled in a transportation course while at their transition program, and have a current need for independent travel, such as a gainful employment position or access to an adult day program. The three participants chosen, referred to as M, I, and Z, meet all these criteria. M is a 19-year-old female with educational autism who is employed. I is a 19-year-old male with autism who is also gainfully employed. And Z is also a 19-year-old male with educational autism who attends an adult day program. This research design was conducted at their students' transition program in their natural class setting. Students worked one-to-one with another staff member in order to go through the travel process independently. Students used a 5th generation iPod Touch in order to access the iPod app Video Schedule Maker. A task analysis data collection was used by staff members, as was a procedural integrity data collection sheet in order to determine if all of the steps in the procedure were being completed with integrity. For this intervention, the independent variable is the iPod and application used on the iPod, and the dependent variable is the independent travel skills as measured by the task analysis of skills set forth by the researchers. Two observers were collecting data during this research design. One was working with the student one-to-one, and the other one was staying 2 rows behind as to provide as little impact on the study as possible. Both staff members were recording procedural integrity data to ensure that the procedure was put into place accurately. In both the baseline and intervention phases, students were expected to complete the following steps as independently as possible. They needed to get their wallet, ID, and transit card, go to the correct bus location, wait safely for the bus, greet the driver, give their fare, choose and sit in an open seat, and then get off the bus at the correct stop. While working with the students, staff members provided prompts using a least to most prompting system, working from independent or natural cue up to full physical prompts. This data was recorded on the data analysis task sheet as monitored by both staff members 1 and 2. In order to determine the social validity of this research design, a questionnaire was given to 5 transition-level special education teachers, the supervisor of the transition program, 5 parents of adults with autism, 3 of the parents being parents of the participants in the study, and the program lead at a local adult day program in which many of our transition program students attend. They were given an assessment using a Likert scale, ranking 1 to 5, going from not important at all to extremely important on independent travel skills in adults with disabilities. The research design used for this intervention was a multiple baseline across participants. With the 3 participants, the phase would change once a stable baseline had been established in the preceding participant. For example, once M has determined a stable baseline, she would then move to the intervention phase. Once that became stable, the intervention was applied to the next participant, and so on until all 3 participants were in intervention phase. During the baseline phase, an initial natural cue was given to participants to let them know that the transportation process was about to begin. For example, students were told to check their schedule or that it was time to go to work or to their day program. Students were given the opportunity to complete the next step in the transportation process with 10 seconds of wait time per prompt. Staff members used a least to most prompting system, starting with independent and moving towards full physical, given that 10-second wait time between prompts. For example, if a student was expected to give their fare to the driver and a gesture was needed, the staff member would gesture to the driver or to the fare card to let the student know that that was the next step in the process. Once they completed a step successfully, they were given a social reinforcer such as a verbal praise or a high five. Once a stable baseline was completed, students were then taught how to use the basic functions of the iPod. They were taught how to turn it on and off, how to access the video scheduler app, enable the verbal prompts, and move back and forth between steps as necessary. iPod training took approximately 15 minutes per participant. Most students were already familiar with an iPod, which helped in this process. Once the iPod training was complete, they moved into the intervention phase. The same initial cue was given to each participant, whether that was check your schedule or being told that it's time for work or their day program. Staff members gave 10 seconds between prompts before administering the next prompt, exactly the same as the baseline procedure. When a prompt was needed, the staff member would prompt using the iPod. For example, if a student needed to give the fare, a gestural prompt was given towards the iPod and the video of a student giving the fare to the driver instead of using the actual fare card as a prompt. A social reinforcer was then delivered upon completion of the step. Upon review of the data, M was able to complete 0% of the transportation process with independence across her 3 baseline trials. Once the intervention was in place, she was able to move from 12.5 to 37.5, 75, 75, 87.5, 86.5, 100, and 100% independence with the intervention in place. As you can see from this graph, M recorded a stable baseline after just 3 trials of 0% independence. Once the intervention was into place, she had a steadily increasing independent rate through the intervention process, ultimately ending at 100% independence during her transportation process. I completed 6 baseline trials, all of them resulting in 0% independence during the transportation process. Once the intervention was in place, similar to M, his results increased a steady trending rate upwards, moving towards 100% independence by the end of the 6th trial. Looking at the graph, I had 6 straight trials of 0% independence until the intervention was put into place. Once it was, he was able to reach 100% independence in the transportation process through the use of the iPod app intervention. Z was the final participant to reach intervention, so he had 9 baseline trials, all of which resulted in 0% independence during the transportation process. Once the intervention was put into place during the 3 trials, Z recorded 62.5, 62.5, and 87.5% independence across the transportation process. Although Z had limited intervention time since he was the final participant to complete in the process, it is clear that from baseline to intervention, there is a definite increase in the independence that he was able to exhibit while using this video scheduler app as well as the iPod to complete the transportation process to get to his adult day program. Inter-observer agreement data was taken using a point-by-point IOA. Based on this calculation, 100% across baseline and intervention phases were in agreement between observer 1 and observer 2. Procedural fidelity was also taken during this with both observers, and it recorded in 100% of trials, resulting in 100% procedural fidelity. Social validity was also taken using the questionnaire mentioned previously. All participants ranked questions 1 through 5 with a 4 or higher, meaning that they strongly agree with all the statements in the social validity questionnaire. Based on the results of the research, it's clear that staff member prompts necessary to independently complete travel training procedure decreased across all 3 participants, thus increasing the individual's independence during the process. This study supports past research on the effectiveness of video modeling in students with autism, and the iPod and app increased participants' ability to independently complete their travel. Although the data from this study concluded that this intervention proved to be successful for these participants, more research should still be completed to determine the effectiveness of this intervention. Other considerations include how can this technology impact other forms of transportation, such as using taxis, Ubers, or trains? How can this strategy be applied across other disabilities other than students with autism? For example, how can this impact students with learning disabilities or cognitive impairments? How effective is this strategy outside of the age range of 18 to 22 years old? And how can the intervention be fated to further increase independence? Researchers should look at how this app can be taken away so that the students do not become reliant on it and can complete the transportation process completely independently.